I am Coach Sess, motivated and determined, and you are listening to Words with the Mad Coach. Fight fans, warriors, it is I, the Mad Coach himself, Coach Sess. I want to pick up where I left off yesterday and continue my discussion about the UFC. But before we get there, I want to talk about some events coming up this weekend that may not have made your radar. So let us start with Bellator 189. Topping off that card is going to be Julia Budd taking on Arlene Blencowe in a women's title fight at 145. The co-main is Chris Honeycutt taking on Rafael Lovato Jr. You have a national wrestling contender in Honeycutt and a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion in Lovato Jr. Good thing about that fight, both men look to set up their grappling with their hands, with their striking. So that is going to be an excellent fight. And if I were you, I would set the DVR for it. You also have Chi and Joanne taking on Hisaki Kato. And if you've seen Kato fight, you know he comes to look for the finish. And Adam Piccolotti taking on David Rickles. Old Lion versus the upcomer. You know, that's 4 excellent fights right there to start your Friday night off. And if you're not going to be available, you're not going to be home, hit the DVR, set it, and watch it at a later point. And also, that show comes on at 9 o'clock on Spike. But at 10 o'clock on the Fox Network, you have the UFC Ultimate Fighter finale. And I don't know a lot about that card because it's still in development. But the good thing about it is that we will crown our first UFC Women's 125 champion. The good news about that is that 125 champion is going to set a precedence. It's going to be kind of a buffer between the 115 and that 135. And this is going to give women a little bit more latitude in going up and down the ranks and also prolonging their careers instead of trying to constantly make weight and fit into these smaller frames, injuring themselves. As I mentioned yesterday, the audio that I made was referring to the UFC fights that start on the Fight Pass. But if you have the Fight Pass, you're also going to be privy to some kickboxing on December 2nd. And I believe that's at 7:30. It's Glory 48. It's Tiffany Van Soos taking on Anissa Mexen for the bantamweight title. And that card is still in the works and is filling out. Also, December 3rd on Fight Pass, you have Eddie Bravo's Invitational, number 14, I do believe. Going back to Saturday night, if you have HBO or the HBO app, you're going to catch some boxing. Miguel Cotto taking on Saddam Ali. What is so interesting about that fight is, or interesting about Miguel Cotto, is on the same night that Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor fought. That fight also went down on pay-per-view, and they were able to get, I believe, right at 1 million buys as well. So we know that the Mayweather-McGregor fight did closer to 4, 6, or 5, but Miguel Cotto still was able to sling under the radar and get 1 million views. So this guy is still a valuable commodity in the boxing world. Again, depends on how much space you have on your DVR. You should be trying to set your DVR for all of this stuff and get it when you can. And let us not forget, on the local level, we have Fight Lab 57 in Charlotte, North Carolina. Headlining will be Dewan Owens taking on Ryan Jett. Co-main event, Keith Rockstar Richardson taking on Solon Staley. The amateur title fight that I'm looking forward to is Devin DeGuin taking on Markevian Williams. And there are 2 other fights on that card that I have heavy interest in. That is Jason Dillon, who I've also worked with in the past, taking on Chris Hurd, who is a devastating one-punch knockout artist. And in the amateur ranks, Ace Hill taking on Bryant Bullock. So before this week is out, I'll finish my preview of that show, that event, and those fighters. Okay, so moving on to the UFC 218 card. We talked yesterday about the Fight Pass prelim card. Now we're going to talk about the Fox Sports prelim card. And on that card, I think we start off with Herring taking on Casey. And then we have Tamor taking on Close. Alex Oliveira taking on Yancy Medeiros. And then Paul Felder taking on Charles Oliveira. Let's go back to Herring versus Casey. So let's look at some interesting points. I'm going to go with Herring in this fight. I believe that she's going to be able to get the takedown. Overall, she has better MMA and she has more experience. And if she uses that, she should win. Casey's chance for winning this fight is in the first round. Herring is on a 3-fight win streak. And she's only been finished once in her pro career. And that was by arm lock. She's 13-6 overall. Ranked number 9 in the UFC, 10 in all of MMA in her division. The weakness of Elise Herring's game would be if it goes to the decision. She's had 4 split decisions in her life, and that's a lot. And that kind of tells me that she either fights up or down to the level of her competition, which she needs to watch out for. And she needs to fight up in this fight. You know, she's taking on someone who has less experience than she does, and there's a tendency to lay back when you feel like you're winning the fight. And if Casey's going to win this fight, she's going to have to do it in the first round. She's 3-3 in the UFC overall, ranked number 10 in the UFC. She's been stopped once in her pro career, but she has 6 of 7 of her wins by finish. So if she's going to do it, she's got to do it early. You know, this is her second fight in 2017 versus Herring's third fight in 2017. When it comes to decisions, Herring is 3-1 in the UFC when it comes to winning unanimous decisions. So this fight right now is in the ball court of Herring, but it's up to Casey to steal the ball and run for that touchdown. Okay, so the second fight, Dracor Close taking on David Tamor. Tamor is 6-1, 67% KO ratio. He's also a guy that fights up to the level of better competition. Plenty of times where he's fought guys who had better records than him, and he was able to come out and beat them. In my opinion, he raises his game when he fights better competition, and he does the right thing when he fights weaker competition. He destroys them. If you are a 6-1, 8-0, 10-0, and they throw a dud at you, you should destroy that guy. You should finish him. There should be no reason why you're taking on guys with lesser records and they are having split decisions with you, or even worse, they beat you. Nonetheless, moving on, I think that Tamor is going to win this fight inside of 2 rounds by KO, and he has a 73-inch reach, and his takedown defense is 80%, so he'll probably want to keep it in striking range. If it does go to the distance, I think Close get the decision if he can get him down and stay on top. Alex Oliveira taking on Yancy Medeiros. I think this fight has the potential to be fight of the night. I think the previous fight, Tamor taking on Close, might be the knockout of the night. But this fight, the Cowboy taking on Yancy Medeiros, this will probably be your fight of the night. It's just so much here in this fight. Very close in record. Oliveira is on a 4-fight win streak. Yancy Medeiros is 3-1 his last 4. Oliveira has KO power, 65% KO power, and he has late power. And that's the distinguishing factor, is that he can take that power with him into the 3rd round. So this is not a championship fight. It's going to go 3. It's scheduled for 3. And Oliveira's always got that late power. Looking at his record, he seems to have that power, that finishing ability a little bit more than most fighters. I think I counted maybe 4 or 5 fights where he was able to have that late power into the 3rd round, and that is very unique. Medeiros had only 1 fight in 2017, and his record tends to reflect that he loses fights to guys with a little bit more experience. And I don't mean a lot, a significant amount, just a little bit, and Medeiros kind of crumbles under. He's 2-4 when it comes to taking on guys who have more experience than him. If Medeiros is going to win this fight, he's going to have to do it early. He's going to have to do it in round 1. If the fight goes to a unanimous decision, then you're going to get a fight of the night, or you're going to get Oliveira finishing Medeiros in any round because he just has that amazing finishing ability and power. So the last fight I want to look at as far as the Fox card prelims go is Paul Felder taking on Charles Oliveira. Felder is 14-3. He's on a 2-win streak right now, both by KO in 2017. 64% KO versus Oliveira, who has 64% submission ratio. So this is the classic battle of the grappler versus striker. Okay, Oliveira has 1 win in 2017, and I think that was Will Brooks. Poor Will Brooks, he's just not made that transition from Bellator. He has been KO'd at 145, and this fight is going to be contested at 155. He's also fought at 155. He's fought Donald Cerrone, and he lost that fight by KO. My thing is, if you're getting KO'd at 145 by smaller fighters, you're probably going to get KO'd by bigger fighters. Paul Felder is a natural 155er. He's probably a 70er, but shrinks down to 155, and he has big KO power. So, Felder also has this ability to finish fights late, but hold on, so does Oliveira. The difference being is that he has to do it early against Felder, in my opinion. I don't see him going to the third round. The longer the fight goes, the later the fight goes. It's just not for him, not good for him. I see this fight being Felder by KO or decision, and Oliveira's chances of winning this fight has to be by KO. Okay, well, that's my 2 cents on the Fox prelim card. Check out my audio from yesterday regarding the Fight Pass prelims, and tomorrow I'll actually touch upon the main card for UFC 218. I'm Coach Sess, and you've had Words with the Mad Coach.